Hoy en De Película.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all?
Seguimos con nuestro verano de película. Yo estoy aquí en Inglaterra con este castillo espectacular detrás mío para traerle todas las exclusivos de Snow White and the Huntsman.
I really mean that sincerely. I don't think in those terms.
Okay.
I don't look at characters and go, oh, here's an opportunity to look this way.
There was a lot more green screen with, you know, playing Thor and Avengers than there was on this. This was much more kind of rooted in reality.
I think it was really important for us to keep her actually a girl and actually kind of a representation of a woman like that actually has integrity rather than somebody who's just like a loud kind of ball busting. It's super on trend right now to have like girl power roles, but I feel like they kind of are just acting like guys.
Lips red as blood, hair black as night. Bring me your heart, my dear, dear Snow White.
You're blinded by the action. You need that. You're blinded by the satisfaction. You need that. Come on.
My queen, yet another kingdom falls to your glory.
It's amazing how relevant this story is after all these years.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is fairest of them all?
You are the fairest, but there is another destined to surpass you.
What does she want from me?
We're making a new fairy tale, and it's so worthy of the word.
Consume her heart, and you shall rule forever.
Snow White comes out of prison and finds the state of the earth is so poisoned by our evil queen.
Thematically, there's a much larger sort of story there now.
Find me someone who doesn't fear the dark forest to hunt her down.
Hey! If I refuse?
The director's vision is fantastic. Very dark and gothic.
It really does take you somewhere that is like otherworldly.
Snow White has an effect on people that she instills hope in them.
You have eyes, Huntsman, but you do not see. She is destined to end the darkness.
I've seen what she sees. I can kill her. It's really been awesome to play a young girl who is so human.
I will give this wretched world the queen it deserves. We all want to make these kind of movies that really make people feel things. Lips red as blood, hair black as night. Bring me your heart, my dear, dear Snow White. Let them come.
Y en este programa dedicado a la nueva versión de Blancanieves, solo De Película te puede llevar de la filmación al glamour de la premier mundial del filme.
We're here at the London premiere with the Snow White cast, premiering Snow White and the Huntsman.
I kind of knew when we cast this cast we'd get something like this, but it's quite spectacular. Last night we were in Shepherd's Bush doing a cast and crew screening, you know, and that's where I'm from, so it's nice to be back on home turf, you know, it's very exciting to be here.
Find me someone who doesn't fear the dark forest to hunt her down.
It's a kind of gothic, darker, more epic version of it. You know, it's similar to, say, Lord of the Rings and Gladiator, more so than the clean Disney fairy tales we've seen before.
It's not your father's Snow White. It's definitely, the story is a throwback to the original darker Brothers Grimm, but at its core, we try to shake it up. We try to do something that people wouldn't find regurgitated and old. We wanted to do something new with it.
I would say that it's pretty close to what you would think Snow White is about. It's just that we sort of take a story about destiny that you think you're going to know all of the outcomes and kind of make you think, wow, destiny might not have my back all the time. And it lives in a much more dangerous world.
I wanted to create a massive, epic, exciting, and very immense, intense version of the story. And I think, you know, when we assembled this cast, we really felt that we were, you know, on the road to doing that.
What was really exciting for me was to be a part of something that the director creatively and imaginatively created a version that hopefully the modern audience will be excited by. You know, there's a lot of twists and turns and a few surprises in there.
I think it's a very emotional piece, and I think there's quite a few messages in there, and I think there's something in there for everyone. I'm very excited to see what people think of it.
Y de la alfombra roja, Charlize Theron nos presenta este behind the scenes especial del vestuario millonario que fue diseñado para Snow White and the Huntsman.
On Snow White and the Huntsman, our costumes were designed by three-time Oscar winner Colleen Atwood. Colleen is a true artist, and I was amazed by what she created for us.
Colleen Atwood, costume designer for Snow White and the Huntsman. The first character that I encountered on the film was Kristen Stewart, who's playing Snow White. We didn't want her to be sort of a puffball little Snow White. We wanted her to be sort of a badass Snow White, like someone who was tough, who'd been through the, you know, who'd had a journey already at a very young age. We wanted to sort of have a fairy tale quality to it without it being all fairy-like. So we decided to make it out of a suede with stitch detail and a little bit of metal on it to reflect that she was maybe a little bit royal, but not blinged out. The costume had to run for a long time through the story, so we wanted it to be able to change. I underdressed it with leather pants and boots that she could run in and do all the things that she had to do in the film, because there's a lot of action in the film. As she goes through the woods, her dress undergoes different changes. It starts as a long dress and overdress and then gets ripped away, so you see the leather leggings underneath and a shorter top, and that's mainly what she wears for the movie. At the end of the movie, she becomes sort of a heroine to the People's Army, and at that point, to prepare for a battle, we made her a hand-sculpted, custom suit of armor that she wears for this sequence of the film. The next character that I encountered was Ravenna, the evil queen. Her crown was an important part of her character. It's iconic, but also it's totally a Romanesque kind of design. A lot of her costume elements were reflecting death. There's a collar made of stag beetle horns. There's actually a dress made of beetle wings in her wardrobe. There is a wedding dress for her, which is at the beginning of the movie, that has a huge collar made out of really fine, almost skeletal type bones. She also has a cape made of cock feather that have been carved and sculpted into a shape on a cape. I call it her transforming cape because she becomes birds when she wears it. So all in all, she's quite the haute couture sort of queen, but with a sort of aged, kind of rotting edge to her. The next character that I encountered was Chris Hemsworth, who is our lovely huntsman. Everything that he wears in the film, he carries on his back, his weaponry, everything. So we designed it all to work in that way. He has different variations of it, coat on, coat off, but it's basically that, and it's all made out of real materials that you could find in the woods, like different kinds of buffalo leather and all kinds of leather sewn together by hand, all handmade, a rough woven, hand-woven linen shirt fabric. He was definitely sort of the organic character of the story. With the design of this film, I had two armies. I had a shadow army, and they were a very high concept, sort of off the beaten path sort of army, non-classic. It was really fun to get to do an army that sort of you hadn't done before, that nobody's seen before. We made over 350 costumes for them, and that process, along with the Silver Army, which you see on King Magnus and his people, and also on Snow White, began in January, way before pre-production started on the film in other areas. To do this kind of work, you start with a lot of concept work and then a sculpt and a mold. So that process is almost a 4-month process before you have a costume. So we had to begin these guys even before we had a final script. We knew they were going to be in there. I think they look pretty scary when you see all 1,000 of them coming at you in the movie. I've made over 1,000 costumes for this film, including 2 armies. It's been an incredible undertaking, and collaborating with these 3 main actors, this has been an amazing experience for me.
¿Quieres memorabilia de Snow White and the Huntsman? Escribe ahora mismo a tepelícula@guapa.tv que los primeros 5 emails se llevan un premio especial cortesía de Universal Pictures.
No se vaya para el cine todavía, que seguimos con nuestro especial de Snow White and the Huntsman.
Snow White and the Huntsman. El 1 de junio.